Well, members of the AbaThembu royal nation are denying that the younger brother of Buyelekhaya Dalindyebo has been appointed acting king. A statement issued on behalf of the royal family says Jongisizwe Dalindyebo has taken the throne, but this has been rejected by another grouping who insists the king's son, Azenati, should take charge of the kingdom's affairs while his father serves a 12-year prison sentence. Well, joining us now is both sides, is the king's brother, Prince Siganeko Dalindyebo, and I'm also joined on the line by Nkosi Daludumo, who is a spokesperson for the AbaThembu royal family. Good gentlemen, good afternoon to both of you. Nkosi, you're on the phone to us. I'm going to, if you don't mind, begin with Prince Siganeko Dalindyebo. Prince, thank you for coming in and taking time to speak to us. It is a complicated matter. I would like your side on this. You are disputing the claim that the king's younger brother, Prince Jongisizwe, was appointed as king yesterday. Why are you disputing this?
Thank you very much, Gareth, and thank you very much to ETV. Gareth, just for the record, let's state it categorically that Prince Jongisizwe Dalindyebo, we have been inviting him over and over since 2012 when them, particularly Nkosi Daludumo and Nkosi Jongisizwe of AbaThembu, wrote to President Zuma and said he must remove the king. So because we believed that they were using Jongisizwe as a pawn in their chess game, we decided to call him over long before the king could go to jail. He refused because he's been used as a pawn in their chess game. Here we must categorically so state that as the core royal family of AbaThembu, meaning the brothers and sisters, our wives, our children, have not been properly dealt with in this matter. We believe that Chief Daludumo Mtirara is one of the very people who hijacked the process in January 1. The Commission on Traditional Leadership and Claims tried to put us together, bring us together, so that we can chant a way forward based on peace and stability. He decided to hijack the processes, and then we decided to withdraw from that process.
I'm going to ask you to elaborate on that in a moment. Nkosi Mtirara, you're on the line with us, sir. Good afternoon to you. What's your reaction to what you've just heard? I believe you could hear what the prince was saying.
Good afternoon, Edward, and the listeners of ENCA. I think what needs to be made quite clear to the listeners and the entire South African is that the royal houses of the kingdom of AbaThembu are the custodians of custom. Yesterday, I will not go back as far as 2012 because you asked me to be short. What I can try to have a very high-level briefing. In January this year, we could not agree on two names. One, Jongisizwe Mtandeni, brother to the king and the only son of the Grey House. Siganeko and the rest are sons of houses which have not been allocated. I'll leave it like that. And Azenati, who was also the second candidate from, for example, Siganeko. And that candidate, we reached a stalemate. Nkosi Jongisizwe Mtirara, who is also from my royal house under Nkosi Daludumo, moved a motion on the 20th of February where he requested us to invite government through Section 1 of the Act to really help us when we had a deadlock. He was supported by Mngangeni from another district or city, Ngobo. Our royal family did not object, but said, let's continue taking this matter to the commission. The commission results were released on the 13th of October, where two recommendations which are contained, and I will not elaborate the process because everyone was allowed to submit, but what is important, Prince, the acting king, Jongisizwe Dalindyebo, was described by the commission as the only son of the great house of King Jonguhlanga. And the commission, which was informed by our submission and everybody was allowed, stated that as a Nati, he is also one of the sons of our King Zwelibanzi.
Nkosi, let me come in there. Forgive me for interrupting. Nkosi, forgive me for coming in here. This is where I'd like to pick up to both gentlemen, if I could. You made your point, Nkosi. I'm going to come back to you now. I have with me a statement from Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs. They sent this to us, gentlemen, just before we came to air, and I'd like to read it as is. I do not want to misquote Kochter and the DG on this. The name of the king's brother seems to have been recommended, and as we know, the process is not yet completed. The key words, the name of the king's brother seems to have been recommended, and we know the process is not yet completed. Prince Dalindyebo, you're nodding your head. I'll come to you first. And Nkosi Mtirara, I'm going to give you a chance to reply in a moment. First, Prince, what does that mean to you? There's the statement, if you'd like it.
Thank you very much. It's wide. It's clear. It's clear that here we are being subjected once again to rude processes by the very same likes of Daludumo, who can't even afford the children of the late King Sabata Dalindyebo to meet on their own as the core royal family to take matters forward. They've been barging into our issues, trying to tell us what to do and what not to do. We believe that we have not been properly respected by these Dalidumos.
Have you been disrespectful in Nkosi Mtirara as far as this process is concerned? What's your reaction, A, to what the Prince just said, and B, to what I read earlier, that Kochter says the brothers only seems to have been recommended? What's your response to both questions?
Two things that I would like to make clear. I am an uncle to Siganeko. Secondly, the royal houses of King Jonguhlanga met on the 5th of February, and they came with two names, and only Siganeko and some who also recommended as a Nati. To come to the report, it is a recommendation because the act is very clear that only a constituted royal family can pass a resolution. Yesterday, a royal family consisted of Dalindyebo royal houses, Jongisizwe royal houses, Jonguhlanga royal houses, Mkhazuli royal houses, even Zwelibanzi royal houses. There was a wife who was there, Landile royal houses, Dabulamanzi royal houses, Bambilanga royal houses, Meligila royal houses, Jongintaba royal houses, Dumiso royal houses, and Vulituba. And they moved a motion. A motion was moved because when we arrived at the royal residence, we were invited by acting King Jongisizwe. What he told us when we got there, we were not inside, we were at the gate because all gates are locked. He said, members of the Ngangelizwe royal family, I've invited you to come and help because my home, that I'm quoting him, is locked. The children of my father and my brother are all over the world. And he said the children require rituals which have been in the backlog for a number of years. And lastly, he said last week a report was released by the Department of Traditional Affairs, and he wanted us to engage.
Nkosi?
And these royal families that I've quoted accepted that the challenges that he highlighted first cannot be addressed without having a person who should preside over the royal family.
Nkosi Mtirara, I don't mean to be rude. Nkosi, I'm going to interrupt you there for a second. We've discussed why both sides are disagreeing on who is the acting king or the regent in this particular case. I've read you the Kochte DG response. I think if we could just bring this back down, this does get complicated. No one is pretending it doesn't. I would like to know from both of you, what does the king himself have to say about this? Prince Dalindyebo, Siganeko Dalindyebo, I'm going to ask you to respond to that first. Nkosi Mtirara, I will come to you with the same question afterwards. Let's bring this back to something hopefully our viewers will be able to understand tangibly. What has the king said about A, who is in charge, and B, who is now speaking on his behalf while he is in prison, and what authority do you have, Prince Dalindyebo, to speak on? Nkosi Mtirara, I'll come to you now.
Thank you very much, Gareth. Let me remind Chief Daludumo. Nkosi, I'm His Royal Majesty, the Prince unto you. You must never forget that any day, umama wam liqadi lendlu enkulu kukumkani uJongihlanga. Uzuyifundisa nabanye abaThembu lonto. Ndingumntana enkosi ogazi lakhe linqenywa ngabaThembu. Umkhulwa wam uzwelibanzi, azwelibanzi. Ukumkani esemonti. His Majesty the King knows what is happening. And we must remember and remind the Thembu as the nation and the South African society that on the 4th of October, in the presence of His Majesty King Zwelibanzi, we unanimously decided on the name of Azenathi Zanelizwe Dalindyebo in front of the ruling traditional leaders of AbaThembu, not the people that have given themselves title. And also, we must also say, on the day, or the day after the king has left, he sent me, as I am sitting here, to inform AbaThembu that he has left, complying with the Constitution of the Republic and showing the people that he toes the line when it comes to the justice system. Therefore, Daludumo and his people have never even come closer to the Zwelibanzi they are talking about. They don't know Zwelibanzi for years. Instead, the only thing that they are busy pushing is the extinction of this particular family, which is the brothers of King Zwelibanzi and the wives of King Zwelibanzi and the children of Zwelibanzi. They want them out of this thing.
Prince Siganeko, if I could, are you telling us that you have this instruction and directive directly from the king himself in prison?
It's not from him direct. But we have informed him that these processes are moving.
And what has he said?
We haven't received the response by the time we come to this particular briefing.
Nkosi Mtirara on the line with us. What's your response? You just heard what Prince Siganeko Dalindyebo had to say. What's your reaction?
What is important is that just going one step further back, on the 4th of October, we were told that there was a resolution which was passed in favor of Azenathi, and the king was there. On the 29th of December 2015, most of traditional leaders were there. The king cleared off the minutes of the same meeting, where he made it clear that they must stop using Azenathi because he will be psychologically disturbed. He moved a motion for Nokwanda. Nokwanda is one of the king's wives, and all of them were dislocated, were neutralized. On the 30th, the same Siganeko, who is now at the studio, had a press briefing. During the press briefing, he was advocating an acting king, Nokwanda. You can tell who is Siganeko because we must have a consistent pattern of consistency. On the 30th, he was addressing media, taking Nokwanda, and we are asking why they do not take the latest developments, which the king confirmed and teared off the minutes that they are always talking about. And the same Siganeko today is no longer talking about Nokwanda, and we don't know. If I can explain to you, Msasazi, is that Chief Daludumo, who was one of the members who witnessed the king tearing off minutes, is a chief today because of our custom. Chief Daludumo's brother is no more, and the wife could not ascend. The children of outside wedlock could not ascend. And because of this custom, which we are saying we will defend, we don't dispute that Chief Daludumo is a chief, because he is a chief as a result of our custom which was exercised. We cannot be ruled by King Zulubanzi in jail. There are separations of powers. We are saying once the situation is normalized, which the acting king made it clear that we must support his brother, we must support his children and family. But he cannot say anything, the Jongisizwe royal family, in line with Act and our kingdom, is in charge of removing and installing kings, because King Zwelibanzi did not just become a king, it was as a result of the allocation of his mother.
Nkosi, I understand. I think you've made your point on this, gentlemen. I do want to make sure we try and find what the way is forward here. I'm not suggesting we come up with a solution here. I would like to offer both of you one last comment as a way of what happens now. Nkosi, you just answered the last question. This is in no particular order. It is merely since you answered last. Prince Siganeko Dalindyebo, what is the way forward here? And I'm going to ask you to, perhaps if I could, answer the question directly without referring perhaps to things that have happened and the accusations going backwards and forwards. As you and I sit here now, what happens when you leave this building?
Thank you, Gareth, for that question. Gareth, we wish for the way forward here and stability and peace finally. King Zwelibanzi Dalindyebo is still alive and kicking. He's sitting in East London. His words and his wills, we wish they should go. King Zwelibanzi is the rightful king of this generation. He shall remain as such. If he decides that his son must be the acting one, not Jongisizwe, he never mentioned Jongisizwe's name. We shall remain with his son's name, rather.
To Nkosi, sir, the last comment from you as well, as brief as you could, please, as your final comment. What's the way forward? Please, without any referrals to what has happened, we've discussed it in depth. What's the way forward for you as you see it now?
Way forward, we are busy reuniting the houses of the king and the king.eNCA and all AbaThembu royal families. We are busy now implementing the resolution of the royal family, which was also implementing the results of the commission. We invite Siganeko, we invite everybody to come on board because they are members of our family. We want them to accept defeat. All of us, we learned, and we want now to learn from this one and make sure that in future we have a stable kingdom. We will now ensure that we advise our acting king. We want Siganeko and others to do the same because we are the same family. In the big house, the ranking there, the first person that sits there, that's how we are ranked when we're sitting. We will not be long on who is senior to the other one. In the crawl and in the big house, our ranking is normally demonstrated there. We invite all AbaThembu and traditional leaders to support the acting king who is to take over as from yesterday.
Thank you very much indeed for the final comments. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. Prince, if I can ask you to stay seated for the moment. To Nkosi, who's joined us on the line alongside with me is AbaThembu Prince Siganeko Dalindyebo, and you heard him on the phone, spokesperson for AbaThembu, Nkosi joining us here on eNCA. We'll continue to watch this story closely as it develops in the near future. Back in a moment.